Mike's Weekly Podcast.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
So I actually did do a podcast this week, but I never had
Mike's Daily Podcast.
the time to upload it. Yes, it's been that kind of a week for me. I've been running around so much that I can't see out my eyes because I'm running so much and so much to do, and there's no time to be Mike. I mean, to be Mike, you need a little time, right? To be Mike.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
I used to have lots of time. And then I guess suddenly the world in which I live
Mike's
got
Daily
busy.
Podcast.
And that's what happens.
Yeah!
You may think, oh, my life's boring. Oh, I've got nothing to do. Oh, I'm so sad. Oh, I play the same stupid video game and watch the same stupid shows on TV. But at some point, your passion, the thing that you love to do, is going to just overwhelm you and consume every aspect of your life, every second of your time, to that you cannot find enough time to do anything that you want. I was talking to Rob Black, the guy that hosts a show in the Bay Area. I've known him for a while now, and I produced his show yesterday. And to do so, I have to get up at 4 a.m. and drive down to Fremont and from Podcastro Valley. By the way, we're broadcasting from Podcastro Valley, Mont today. The last place on earth, cafe anyway. And Rob and I were discussing the fact, he was like, are you having fun with your lady friend, your lovely lady friend? I like seeing pictures that you post of the two of you together. And I go, yeah, we're having fun, but we want to travel more, but I don't have time to travel more. Which, you know, I know plenty of people that I work with that could pick up some of the slack. And I think they have the capacity to do it. It's just, they're spending a lot of time. It's where the rubber meets.
And here's today's podcast picture.
The road, the boots on the ground, the other expressions I can't stand, the actually getting it done part. And a lot of that falls into my lap. But I'm trying to delegate. I'm trying to give other people stuff to do. I am the manager and I can do that. But it's just so much to do. And then so many things have to happen so fast, and you don't have time to train people. Isn't that right, Basil the Boxer? Yes. Oh, the late, great Basil the Boxer. There's another financial guy who lost a dog, a financial talk show host. And it's funny because Rob Black also had a dog that passed away. And I was basically with him the day it happened, and it was tough. It was emotional. And the other financial guy who just lost his dog this week, his dog was named Cosmo. He talked about it on the air, and he sounded very sad. The dog had a great life. He was 13 years old. What I'm saying is that it's tough when you have a pet that you've grown attached to. And for some reason, a lot of financial talk show hosts have dogs. So eventually, you will outlive your dog, probably. And it's a sad thing. A friend of mine, Mike, who I've known since I was in high school, he told me, it's too bad they haven't genetically engineered a dog that can live as long as humans. But that's not how it is. And the podcast picture today is of a place Basil and I went to about 5 years ago. It's technically Heron Bay, but it's also called Robert's Landing. And it's in San Leandro. It's a beautiful spot there towards the end of the Bay Trail. And you can see a picture of it at mikesdailypodcast.com. I spent a lot of time there after Basil passed last year. I went there with my lovely lady friend a couple of times and thought about him quite a bit. Miss him a lot. But now we are taking care of a feral cat. We've named him Rodler, as in the German beer. The beer in Germany, they mix beer with lemonade. They come up with a name called Rodler. And it kind of sounds like a cat going, "Rawr." And this cat meows and gets angry, and he's kind of a mean feral cat. But it's Radler Maas, literally cyclist liter, originally created by an innkeeper in a small town. This according to AmericanCraftBeer.com. In a small town. Let's see. Okay, here. Oh, this is it. Franz Kugler was the innkeeper, which is funny because my mom, as a young lady, worked in the Black Forest at a hotel. And she tells some stories. I guess she had a little fling with an older married man. My mom told this story. My 80-year-old mom told this. Actually, she's older than that now. So yeah, some steamy stuff happened mid-century, folks. If you weren't aware, that's not my dad though. So don't go that direction. All right. Innkeeper Franz Kugler in a small town called Diesenhofen, just outside of Munich, or München, as the Germans say, during the great cycling boom of the Roaring '20s. Yes, bicycling. In fact, bicycling was part of a financial bubble. I think that's what Rob Black was talking about on his show when I was producing it yesterday morning. I was a little tired and distracted and trying to do my other job, which is basically data entry, because I work for a radio station that has a lot of shows on it. And the programs all have to have a number assigned to it, and you got to assign the number in a computer and make the software work, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm basically blind. My eyes are crossed from all the data entry. And then I found out late yesterday, after being up since 4 a.m, that all the numbers that I had put in were wrong. And somebody in what we call the traffic department could have avoided this mess by giving me the list way in advance. I have since addressed this issue with the traffic person, and she knows that I am frustrated and upset, and she apologized. But still, I worked from 5 a.m. till 10 at night yesterday, and this is why your friendly neighborhood Mike Matthews does not do a podcast daily anymore, even though he would like to. So on a beautiful June day, similar to this one, in 1922, there was this bicycling trail through the woods, which led directly to his drinking establishment. Franz Kugler came up with a drink. A reported 13,000 cyclists crashed a party that he was doing. Fast running out of beer, he blended it 50-50 with lemon soda. He could never seem to get rid of, and the rest is history. Outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Today, some of the best Radlers you can find in the States still come from Central Europe in the form of Schufenhofer grapefruit, Hefeweizen and grapefruit soda, and Stiegelradler. That's lager and grapefruit soda. Both weigh in at an uber light 2.5%, perfect for summer beer sessions in the beer season. The most commonly found nationally would be Leinenkugel's Lemon Summer Shandy. Oh, I guess they sometimes call it a shandy, and their grapefruit shandy. Enough of that. I gave him a plug, now I'm gonna give him a slug. I don't drink beer much anymore. About a year ago, I drank too much beer with Kevin, who used to do a segment on this podcast called Addendum with Kevin. And he's a beer master over at 21st Amendment. And I drank entirely too much beer with him and got really, really sick. And I've had maybe 2 beers in that time since then. All right, so here's some little bits of news that I want to throw at you. By the way, you can hear me on the radio tomorrow. There's a link at mikesdailypodcast.com, and you can see the podcast picture at mikesdailypodcast.com. And you can always drop me a line at mikesdailypodcast.com, all kinds of places to email me. And you can also call me at 336MM Daily. That's 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Daily as in what this podcast has not been. And I'm blatantly not apologizing for it, because I cannot apologize for it, because time is sucking the life out of me. Mercury, by the way, is in retrograde right now. Now, I had a friend years ago who was all into astrology. And he told me that when Mercury is in retrograde, you hear from people you haven't heard from in a long time. Now, that actually happened. Somebody texted me out of the blue saying, "Hey, how's Basil doing?" And I'm thinking in my head, you idiot. I've been talking on the podcast since the day Basil passed about Basil passing, and you don't know that Basil's not with us anymore? God. Anyway, Mercury is in retrograde right now until June 22nd. So over 9,000 Americans were polled, and 32% think it does affect us here on Earth. Only 3 in 10 people even claim to know what Mercury in retrograde means. Retrograde is when a planet's orbit appears to change. So it starts going backward in the sky. You're like, wait, what? It's just wandering around out there in space. It's not in orbit, but it doesn't really change. It's just an illusion that happens because of where we are in our orbit. And it happens with all the planets, not just with Mercury, but because astrologers got that thing where they love Mercury, they gave that some kind of significance. Remember when Tom Cruise blew a gasket last December when he caught a crew member on the movie Mission Impossible 7 violating COVID protocols? Production just shut down for 2 weeks after at least one person on that set tested positive for the coronavirus. Yes, they're still filming it. Someone tested positive. A rep for the studio says, "We are all following all safety protocols and will continue to monitor the situation." Hey, there's a guy I know who's so freaking scared about getting the shot. And you always know an anti-vaxxer when they say they don't call it a shot, they call it a jab. Now in England, they call it the jab. They don't call it a shot, they call it a jab. Now here, if you hear someone say that, you know they're an anti-vaxxer. Try out this theory. I think it's true. That's why I said it. But yeah, I think it's true. So this guy, anti-vaxxer, spends about 10 minutes today telling me how, Americans, they're sick of hearing about they gotta get the vaccine. And meanwhile, the whole time he's telling me this, I'm thinking, you're the only idiot I know who hasn't gotten the vaccine yet. So, you enjoy getting that COVID-19. Because that's going to be way worse than just getting a little shot in your arm. But this guy, I already knew he was an anti-vaxxer. He never got a flu shot. So he's not going to get the vaccine. And so now he's got to tell me every reason under the sun why I shouldn't have gotten a vaccine. And of course, he's got to make fun of Gavin Newsom because he did that lottery thing, which is dumb. I don't know why he's got to do that, make a game show out of it. I mean, it's common sense. If you're going to get the vaccine, you're going to get it because you don't want to get sick. It's a precaution. And Rob Black always brings up the fact that his mom died because of COVID. And it really irritates him that people got to keep saying, got to go on this anti-vaxxing bent and think that they're being American. They're being really patriotic because they're independent thinkers. And it's all the media trying to brainwash you. It's all Joe Biden trying to brainwash you. The reason why we have a vaccine is because the president beforehand did that moonshot thing. Remember? He got started on it. He said we gotta get this thing out before anybody else. We're gonna do it. Remember how he talked about how great America was and how he's a great president because he got the vaccine passed and all that? He is not an anti-vaxxer. Now I don't know if he's gonna change the stripes as a zebra. He's gonna change his stripes. Is that the expression? It's gonna change his he's gonna sing a different tune because it seems that a lot of conservatives are anti-vaxxers now. When you listen to conservative talk radio, you hear a lot of anti-vaxxering rhetoric. I heard a guy yesterday say, he said we got to A, Stop telling the government to stop forcing this vaccine down our throat. Mixing metaphors. And B, he said, we got to, realize that the government that's in now was because of a mass big tech conspiracy, that big tech and Twitter, who kicked off Trump, and Facebook that kicked off Trump, that they, since they're anti-Trumpers, they rigged the election system and somehow got Biden elected. And now Biden's trying to force vaccine down our throat, which is a completely made-up narrative. It placates a type of person that's angry that Trump didn't win, and that's scared of getting a shot. So did I bring any of this up to my friend who is a anti-vaxxer? No. I let him vent. I let him go on his little rant until I couldn't take it anymore. And I said, look, I am in charge of 5 radio stations. I've got to go now. Thank you. I'm very busy. The U.S. government is about to release its UFO findings. Perhaps you would like to dial into that conspiracy theory. They investigated 120 reports of UFOs. The government says many of the reports did not come from Navy pilots, but rather civilians. Oh, it was Hug Your Cat Day the other day. I would have liked to have hugged my cat, but I can't because he's a feral cat, and you can't hug a feral cat of this type that's like, rare, Rodler, rare. So there. I think we're all caught up on stuff. Did we miss anything? How about the recipe for ceviche? Have you ever tried to make ceviche? Are you a vegetarian and find that offensive because I'm talking about killing a poor defenseless fish animal? Well, check it out. Because it is summer, and I'm grabbing this from a Costco connection from over a year ago. Ceviche has a long history in countries such as Peru, Ecuador, Mexico, and Chile, and a trove of devotees from around the world. The best ceviche epitomizes freshness. Ceviche is made with ocean fish such as halibut or seafood, from shrimp to scallops to crab. It is cooked only by the acid of citrus, usually lime juice, but often a combination of citrus juices. This sharp marinating liquid that takes on seafood's rich brininess is the most treasured element of ceviche and is known as leche de tigre, or the tiger's milk. Finding fresh fish is the biggest challenge in the whole process. Beyond that, it's all about balancing flavors. And I tried making it with tilapia once with someone I know named Robert Welsh, who was on another segment that I have on this show called Welsh on the World. Though he hasn't done that segment in a long time either. Adding produce such as tomatoes, cucumbers, avocados, corn, herbs, and fruit such as mango or pineapple contributes irresistible fresh flavors and textures. Ceviche can be lashed with fiery chilies or left mild and is served cold alone or with crackers or tortilla chips. I like it with the tortilla chips. When preparing raw seafood, always thoroughly clean surfaces and tools. Use a glass or stainless steel bowl so the ceviche doesn't take on extra flavors, and give the citrus time to do its job, yielding tender, juicy results similar to the traditionally cooked fish. For those wary of using raw seafood, ceviche's flavors can also be incorporated into recipes using cooked seafood. Either way, the finished product are as diverse as the countries from where they originate. I'm Mike Matthews, and you can listen to me on the radio tomorrow. There's a link at mikesdailypodcast.com. I am on from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. playing classic hit music, classics, classic songs, classic tunes from the 70s to the 90s. Oh, yesterday, as I'm trying to fix a bunch of problems that were caused by the aforementioned people that I aforementionedly mentioned on this podcast slightly earlier in it, I'm sitting there talking to someone, a coworker, who's also being equally swamped, and I have my windows open and I hear somebody down the street blasting Freebird. And the guy I was talking to laughed and said, is someone going to jump off the roof like in that scene from Forrest Gump? And I don't know where... Do you have these friends that reference movies? And like, okay, yeah, maybe you've seen the movie, but you have no idea what they're talking about. I saw that movie. I don't know. My lovely lady friend, I don't do that with her because she has movie amnesia and TV amnesia. As soon as she watches something, she instantly forgets it. Like the next day, I'll be referencing something from the movie we just watched, and she'll, what? But she remembers other things. Hey, here's another quick little thing. Somebody that you may or may not know who all they do is reference movies. And then if you say, oh, I never saw that movie, they go, what? You've never seen blah, blah? Oh, you gotta see that. It's the best movie ever. Let's watch it now. Let's watch that YouTube video now. Hey, I just got a little, I'm gonna update my phone. Let's update my phone now, shall we? We're gonna restart my phone because it needs an update. Oh, don't update your phone. Oh no, it's a government conspiracy.
Wrong.
If they update your phone, then they'll listen to you everywhere you go. Tinfoil hat on head.
Life grand.
I mean, aluminum foil hat on head. Okay, now it's time to just grab and read a page from the book Good Success, Learning Good Lessons from Bad Leaders by E. Arthur Self, Ph.D. Perhaps we will learn something new today that will help us. Bruce Springsteen wrote a song about a guy who bails out. What? Bad leaders place themselves and their interests above the needs of others, and they discount the effect of their abandonment. They tend to see it as no big deal when in fact it is an extremely big deal in the eyes of the persons being abandoned. So Bruce Springsteen wrote this song about a guy where he abandons his family and seems justified in doing so because he has a hungry, hungry heart. Got a wife and kids in Baltimore, Jack. I went for a ride and I never went back. And actually, that was Bruce's first big top 40 hit. Did you know that? Born to Run was a big song for him. He'll always be remembered for it, but it was not it didn't chart that high on the charts. Hungry Heart charted higher. And then Bruce was also writing songs for other people, like This Little Girl Is Mine, This Little Girl Is Mine by Gary U.S. Bonds, and wrote Fire for Pointer Sisters. Romeo and Juliet, dun, 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 dun. Samson and Delilah. But when we kiss, ooh, fire. And he wrote, Because the night belongs to lovers. What a sad commentary on being a bad husband and irresponsible father. Bad leaders tend to abandon those people, plans, and responsibilities for which they previously might have appeared to show strong commitment. So the weaker the original commitment, the greater the ease with which abandonment occurs. Bad leaders tend to hide their weak commitment, hoping no one will perceive they are inclined toward the path of least resistance, not the pursuit of highest value. This is not the same as a justifiable, evidence-based change of mind. Rather, it's a profound change of support for previously agreed upon plans and people. And one other thing, as I throw that book down, is please do not forget to remain calm in the workplace. I know I am trying to remember that with whatever is happening. The entire working life isn't going to be a breeze, and there will be days that you'll simply want to pull your hair out if you have it, which I don't. It's important to keep your cool and avoid telling others where they can go. So, according to Career Addict, here are a couple of tips. Be mindful of your facial expressions. Are you guilty of rolling your eyes and smirking at your boss when you disagree with them? Don't do that. Don't go from 0 to 100. You don't want to be known as a ticking time bomb, ready to go off without a second's notice. People should not have to walk on eggshells around you, so try to do a better job of controlling your temper. Avoid negative Nancy's. Whether we like it or not, moods can be highly contagious, and if you're surrounded by the most depressive person or the planet, day in depressive people, day in and day out, it's only inevitable that it will rub off on you. You can try to uplift your colleague's spirit and help them break the cycle, but if that fails, perhaps it's best to avoid them like the plague. Be more humorous. By no means don't laugh in someone's face after they've irritated you. Rather, what you should try to do is find the funny side of things, perhaps even to use a joke to diffuse a particularly tense situation. I heard an expression once, and I'm going to misquote it, but it was something like, why take life seriously when life is not serious? Something like that. Come up with a solution before a problem occurs. If you can offer a solution before a problem occurs, you'll be better equipped with dealing with it, and you'll be better at remaining composed. When you're faced with a challenge without any answers, you're more likely going to crumble under pressure, and this won't do anything to help you tackle the problem head on. Be more empathetic. If you've lost your temper, why is it remember that you're not the only person having a bad day, and you really don't know what they're dealing with outside of work. So be a little more respectful. Use breathing techniques. Count to 10. Focus on the positive. Be patient. Block out distractions. Limit your caffeine intake. I guess I should just stop there, because that's probably the most important thing for me to remember. Get some sleep. Yes. Have you realized that when you have a good night's sleep, everything is instantly better? In other words, don't sacrifice your sleep. If you do, it will impair your ability to think clearly, and it will generally make you more irritable. When you're well rested, on the other hand, you'll see that the task you've been pulling off all week really isn't that hard, or as hard as you thought it was. Maintain a decent work-life balance. I think that's what irritates me the most, is that I feel as if my work life has consumed me, and that my life is gone, is completely destroyed. I used to get so upset when work took me away from walking Basel or spending time with my lovely lady friend. That's where I get really irritated. And when that happens, that's when I lose my temper. Have a good support system. While you're feeling down or stressed, a good support system can make a world of difference. This could be a group of trusted coworkers. You spend over 8 hours a day with them, so who else would better understand your company's culture? Love what you do and that's funny, because I'm watching the show called Death in Paradise. It's this kooky British show, kind of like Midsummer Murders that I've talked about. And it basically has all the same actors as Midsummer Murders, but it takes place in St. Marie in the Caribbean, and people, these hardworking detectives and police, they'll solve a crime, and at the end of the day, they always drink a beer together. And I think, wow, maybe that's how it should be. Ask for help. You don't always have to handle stressful situations on your own. If you're worried about meeting a deadline, speak to your manager, ask for an extension, call your team, and delegate parts of a particularly difficult task to them. Eat healthier. Food is the fuel that maintains a healthy brain, and a logical brain is the key to staying calm when faced with challenges. Hit the pause button. Are you on the verge of sending out an angry reply to a sarcastic email? If so, press the pause button and step away from the situation. When you've managed to calm down, read over your email, rewrite it to make it sound professional, and find an outlet for your frustration, perhaps podcasting. When all else fails, find a different outlet for your frustration. It could be exercising at your desk, stepping out of the office, going for a walk, talking to a friend, simply writing down your problems in a journal. Whatever it is, make sure that you stick to it. And this writer wraps this up here on careeraddict.com by saying, by adopting a calm attitude at the workplace, you'll find that you're more creative, happy, and approachable, and this will effectively put you in a better position to succeed in your career. Yes. Well, that's pretty much the end of the podcast. Hey, the lady that's talking here who's going to wrap up the show is actually having a baby shower today, and I am not there because I am at work and work-life balance is off for me. Sorry, A-Frame, but I hope your baby shower today is awesome. Congratulations. And make sure to listen to me tomorrow. Link at mikesdailypodcast.com where to hear me on the radio. And if you'd like to chime in about anything that we covered, you can call me at 336-MM Daily. That's 3 + 3 = 6. MM is in Mike Matthews. Daily is in what this podcast is. Look who's here taking us out. Hello, Michael Masters, Madame Rootabega, and I thought that you were going to do a podcast earlier this week. Ooh. Yes, I was going to, and then what happened was that I could not upload it. In fact, you're going to be probably in the next podcast, which is going to be, and this is confusing, the podcast that I recorded earlier this week, but I'm not going to put it out before I do this podcast. But I did a little short video on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/mikesdailypodcast, and I talked about the podcast that is actually going to be the one after this one. So is that confusing? Yes. Are you glad I told you about that? Yes. Do you want the show to end? No. Yes, it should go on forever. Look who else is here.
Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, we're really happy that we're on the next podcast there.
Yeah, the next podcast. Do you know that? Yes, and we'll also get to Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer. How are we getting all of these people here at Cafe anyway? I don't know. It's going to be great.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
And that was episode 2247, 2247. Go to the website. I think it's called mikesdailypodcast.com.